Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we shall be seeing what is a configuration space. So in the last video, we have talked about the generalized coordinates. So suppose a situation in which you have three dimensions and you have three particles in three dimensions. So for that, you already know that you require 9 generalized coordinates. And what are those? So for the first particle, it would be x1, y1, z1. For the second particle, it would be x2, y2, z2. For the third particle, it would be x3, y3 and z3, right? Now, what if I represent this same system as some different system where what do? Instead of taking 3 x's, what do I do now? I take corresponding to this x-axis, I take 3 x-axis. So say x1, x2 and x3. Instead of taking one y-axis, I take y1, y2 and y3, and same I do with z-axis, right? So now I have represented the same three particles which were in 3 dimension now as one particle in 9 dimension. How cool is that, right? So now the generalized coordinate here becomes x1, x2, x3. So one particle is representing these three particles, right? With coordinates x1, x2, x3 corresponding to these x's, y1, y2, y3 corresponding to these x's, and z1, z2, z3 corresponding to these x's. So you can see that this thing and this thing is almost same, but now you have simplified the system a lot, right? Because we are not considering any kind of interactions between these particles. So instead of studying 3 particles in 3 dimensions, we are now studying one particle in 9 dimensions. So this will make more sense when you have n particles. Suppose you have n particles in 3 dimensions, right? Now what you do is you replace this n particles with single particle, but what you do is you now take multiple x's to make your coordinate system from 3 dimension to 3n dimensional space, because for each axis you have let me put this it in this way. For example, let's look it like this. Here for each particle you have one value of x, right? x1, x2 and x3. So instead of having one x-axis, we have defined 3 x-axis. So here, because you have n particles, so corresponding to these n particles, there is one x value. So what if I define one particle and I represent n x-axis? That means this would be x1, this would be x2 and so on up to xn. This would be y1, this would be y2 up to yn, right? And this would be z1, z2 and so on up to zn. So now I have increased the dimension of this system and represented these n particles by this single particle over here. So the system now reduces to n particles in 3 dimensions to one particle in 3n dimensions, right? This n is due to the number of particles over here as in the previous case. So the configuration of the system of n particles which are moving freely in space, that is, they are not interacting with each other at all, is now represented by the position of a single particle in 3n dimensional space, which is known as the configuration space. So now in reality, this space does not exist, right? But for the sake of simplicity and everything, we have created this space, this imaginary space which is created to simplify the analysis, consisting of 3n dimension, is called configuration space, right? So thus the Q1, Q2 up to Q3n becomes the set of generalized coordinates for this new system, which may represent anything with any physical significance. That means this q1 could represent any physical quantity, q2 could represent any physical quantity, and q similarly others, right? So and this could change according to whatever the system we are dealing with. So how can one specify that, okay, I want this particular set of coordinates to study my system. I want this q1, q2, qn to be my masses, or say time, or I wanted anything else. I want them to be momentum, and then I wanted to study its derivative and stuff like that. So how should you decide whether these set of generalized coordinates, whether they are suitable for me or not? So you should note that these whatever coordinates that you choose, they should determine the configuration of the system completely. What does that mean? That means the complete information about the system should be obtained using these coordinates, right? Moreover, these coordinates should be independent of each other. That means they should not, one is not dependent on other. That means what we are saying basically is say q1 should not be a multiple of, say, lambda times qn or something, because otherwise this set would be shortened, right? The set could be reduced to a smaller number of coordinates, and moreover it should follow the constraints on the system. Now, what are the constraints on the system? This should be the topic of our next video, right? We'll understand them in the next video. As for now, you just understand that these coordinates should follow all the rules of the system, right? Moreover, you should select the coordinates such that they simplify the problem without losing the appropriate mathematical reasoning which they define, right? So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching.